Welcome to Mastering Life's Adventures, an educational podcast about tapping into your true self, the soul, the substance of your life, to discover what life's ups and downs are really about, and how to have a greater sense of purpose, peace, joy, and fulfillment. I am Dr. Judith Holder, your host, coach, psychologist, fellow seeker who enjoys diving into the connections between spirituality, psychology, wellness, and your everyday life's adventures. All preparing and polishing you like the facets of a magnificent diamond to be your best self. If you're craving more from your life, you are in the right place. Come, let's journey together and transforming what you know into who you really are. Mastering Life's Adventures begins now.
Hi, I'm back with another simple key to soul progress. I want to talk about courage because we need to show more courage in our interactions and our thoughts about how we go about dealing with things that come up that we know may not be right or true. Sometimes we're just passive. We're not being courageous. And I want to talk about that as relates to the soul. I believe that courage is one of the most powerful forces we can embrace in life. When viewed from the perspective of soul growth and advancement, it becomes the driving force behind why we can accelerate our growth and progress. Because we're willing to be courageous and not get into this small box of doubt and uncertainty and fear. When you think about being courageous, you think about strength. You think about being anchored in something greater than yourself. You think about that you have the values or something that's driving you to be able to stand for what is truth, what is honorable, what is right. Sometimes we think about courage as being brave. And when we face our fears and doubts and uncertainties in our day-to-day lives. But courage is more than that. I believe that courage comes from the heart and the soul. It becomes a guiding way of helping us to manage and deal with challenges in life or situations that happen to us. I believe that courage is the foundation of our soul growth that shapes who we become and how we respond to life's circumstances. It is the ability to evolve to the highest versions of ourselves. We're always transcending ourselves daily and being willing to get ourselves out there. It means willing to compel ourselves to step into new experiences, even when they're uncomfortable, or sharing uncomfortable truths that need to be shared, or moves us from our past limitations of what we thought we could not do and pulling us forward to say, yes, we can. Courage does require that you have to trust the process, even when the outcome is uncertain. It is a willingness to step forward, step up into yourself, your true self, your soul self, and be willing to experiment. Also be willing to know that there may be fear clouds on your path, but you're willing to continue to move forward, knowing that the light of your inner soul and your promptings will guide you in the right direction when you trust yourself. I've had the same situation happen with this podcast. I knew nothing about podcasting. Not at all. And so there's a part of me that said, well, maybe not go down that road of podcasting, because you've got to get the equipment, you've got to get a technical person, and you're certainly not technical, and these are all the thoughts that are going on in my mind. That's why I get a technical person, because I'm not that technical. You're going to have to think about material, you're going to have to think about this, you're going to have to look at that. It'd be easy to be able to say, I'm just going to stay in my comfort zone. But I said, no. This is an opportunity for me to grow. It's an opportunity to take a risk, because you never know how it's going to go with doing these podcasts and how many people are going to listen. But I did it from a different perspective. There wasn't enough information talking about the soul and the soul's evolution, what's important, how it relates to psychology, and how it relates to our general well-being, and allowing us to know that there are behaviors that we can change in ourselves and that we can be able to move forward with a clear vision towards our soul is here to grow. Our soul is here to unite and connect with the higher aspects of ourselves, which Jesus came to represent as the Christ. We're here to sin daily. And how do we do that? And so I just wanted to share my thoughts about it. But it did take courage to do so. In terms of the journey that the soul is on, it does require for us to be aware that the soul has an alignment, is always trying to get more in tune with the authentic, the real aspects of who we are, and not the synthetic self. The ego persona, which is the lesser self, is not the trueness of who we really are. The soul is always looking for truth and growth and advancement. That is not the situation with the ego persona, which I've talked about before in other episodes. So what courage allows us to do, it allows us to move and challenge old beliefs that we may have about ourselves, confront our fears, and with the awareness that we can overcome those fears. Just because of a fear, it shouldn't set up a barrier for us to not continue to move forward, but just say, okay, there are things I'm going to have to learn. I'm going to have to maybe not do it right a couple of times or however long, but it will get better and better. It pushes us to embrace change, moving past the status quo. When the soul is involved, tied to the heart, and tied to a greater understanding that we are not alone, that there are angels, there are masters that are around us, trying to assist, especially when we invite them into our life in daily experiences. It helps us to build grace and resilience, courage. That's my thinking as relates to the soul path, soul evolution, advancement, as we're trying to move forward. I also wanted to talk about courage as it relates to self-development, and it's all tying together. The essential aspect of developing ourselves means that we have to confront our fears and uncertainties, that we have to challenge those things that are holding us back, and being able to say, is this true? That's a way of challenging something. We have to address something I talked about in our January episode of limiting beliefs that we may have. And how those limiting beliefs putting us in a straitjacket. And now allowing us to be able to flap our wings and fly as eagles, which we are. We also have to realize that it pushes us courageously to overcome past traumas, be it childhood traumas, adult traumas, being able to say, those traumas are not going to hold me back. I will find a way to get through them. I will get professional help if that's the need of the hour. I will not allow that trauma to keep me stuck. Being courageous can be very powerful because it pushes us to step out of our comfort zone and know that we have an inner strength to our soul, through our intuitive nature, our Christic nature, that we can move through. We can propel ourselves forward, moving higher and moving deeper into a situation that we need to get unstuck. It gives us inspiration. Somehow courage gives us inspiration. Different types of people, books, or articles, or something in the social media answers the question that we may have had about something. And so it gets us unstuck, allowing us to break free from certain patterns and allows us to keep moving forward. For example, imagine someone who's stuck in a cycle of self-doubt. They're uncertain about what they should do. They're afraid to pursue their passion, for example. because they don't want to have failure. I think many of us have been there. We don't want to fail, but failure is an opportunity for growth. It takes courage to acknowledge the fears that you have, determine how you want to step forward past those fears or learn from those fears. It pushes you to trust in the potential for something more. Trust that you will move forward and grow from. By embracing courage, it helps everyone around you to know that just because you're feeling discomfort doesn't mean that you can't move forward. In spite of the discomfort, if it's the right thing to do that allows your soul to evolve and grow, allows you to develop new skills, allows other doors of opportunity to open because of your courageousness, then do it. Now let's talk about courage in relationships. I think it plays an important role in relationships. If you're going to have a good connection in your personal relationships, you have to be willing to allow yourself and the other person to be vulnerable, express feelings that may be counter to your feelings, being authentic, how you feel about something, and being willing to share it even in spite that it may not sit well with the other person, but you're doing it in a respectful way and manner. It's about showing up as our true selves and creating connections that are real and meaningful. Courage allows us to do that. Here's an example. Think about a person who has experienced deep hurt and pain in past relationships, and they may hesitate to trust again, and they're not sure that they can trust anyone. And I think we've heard people say, I've had too many bad relationships and trust is not there for me. I'm going to sit this one out in terms of future relationships. If you're toggled to your soul, desiring soul progress, and your heart is telling you to move forward, with immense courage, you open up. You assess the situation. You see if this person's a trustworthy person, because not everyone is always trustworthy. Will they be willing to hear your perspective about things? If you think that is the foundation and those qualities are there in the relationship, then you let go of the fear of being hurt or the fear of being too vulnerable. But you move forward with love and connection. That because I love this person, I'm willing to work on my trust issues. I'm willing to be courageous and vulnerable to share myself. Hopefully, by how they respond and start to share back to me, it helps to build that trust. But if we kept ourselves back into that straitjacket I talked about, of not doing anything, the soul is in a straitjacket too. And it cannot evolve and grow if we're not willing to try. If we're not willing to ask the Lord for discernment. Can help me to see what I need to see in this situation clearly, not through the lens of the ego persona, but through the lens of my soul self, the Christic energy, and ask God to reveal things to you. And you start to have those things revealed to you that you need to know. So your trust ultimately is in your soul self, your God self, your Christ self. Your trust is internally that you're developing. And in that development, it gives you greater discernment. And discernment is the key that you're using as the backdrop to the trust of how much you can say, when you can say it, how you might say it. So it's this type of courage that transforms a relationship into being more meaningful, soul nourishing, and having that greater sense of connection to the person's, either in the romantic relationship, any type of personal relationship, work relationships, what I'm going to talk about next, that allows us to feel as if we're building this inner strength, this wellspring of strength, because we're willing to test the water. We're willing to try new things. We're willing to assess, is this right for me or if this is not right for me? I'm just not going to do it because everyone's telling me I need to do it. And that's a degree of trust. The next aspect about courage that I want to talk about is in relationships. In the professional world, courage is so much needed to speak up. Sometimes we need to assert ourselves, take a risk, and share with the team or group our thoughts, especially if we're in disagreement with the general viewpoints. Then, it takes some courage to say something. And it also may require you to have to advocate for yourself. And that requires setting boundaries with your colleagues about what's going to go and what's not going to go. Something I talked about in the last episode about setting boundaries with love. When you're pursuing a new career path, it really does take courage to making sure that in this courage of pursuing this new direction, that it's going to be in alignment with your work life, your mission, the direction you want to move in, and also your soul truth. This is fit with my soul and the qualities, attributes, and beauty of the talents given to me. Or am I just doing this because it pays better? But I'll be miserable in the job, but at least I'll have money. Be in alignment with your soul. Take the courage to be able to say no to things that are not in alignment with who you are and your values and your beliefs. Say yes and be willing to wait and be able to continue to refine yourself with any type of skills that you need to develop or any type of readings that you want to do in order to be that much better when the next opportunity comes along. An example is, think about a person who feels stuck. It can be John, Jane, in their job that doesn't fulfill them, just taking it because of the money. But they're afraid to leave because the money is good and they have security in the position. It takes courage to leave the comfort zone and pursue the path that better aligns with their purpose, with your purpose, with Jane, John, Jill, whoever's purpose. It's all in attunement with your soul's progress. And that's why you're here, for your soul to make progress and grow. So this courage opens the door to new opportunities. If you're willing to hold and just say, this is not in alignment, I'm going to do something else, and I'm going to pray to God to guide me and help me and to give me the patience I need through this situation. Because it really does empower you to live a life that is true to your soul. We sometimes are living a life that is not true to our soul and what is helpful for our soul to make progress, because we haven't thought about our soul, and we need to. So the next quality that I wanted to talk about as it relates to courage is when it relates to, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about why we struggle to be courageous. That is what it boils down to. Why many of us struggle to be courageous when it's advantageous to our soul. With courage during life's challenges, life will inevitably bring challenges. It just comes with the territory of living life, whether it's dealing with loss, facing financial struggles, navigating health crises, or dealing with difficult relationships at work or at home. Courage doesn't come with avoiding challenges, but by embracing them. Embrace the challenge. Don't run from it. We learn from it. It strengthens us to move forward, to learn from adversity that has taken place with us and around us, and to go stronger with each step. So one step at a time, we are learning, we're growing, we're asking the Lord for His intervention in our life. We're asking our spiritual guides, His angels, to try to help us, but cannot if we don't ask, because the call compels the answer. No call, no answer. It's just like a phone call. If you don't make the phone call, the person is not going to be showing up on the other end. God always shows up when we make the call. Imagine someone diagnosed with a serious illness of cancer or another really serious type of illness. Cancer is pretty serious, and it scares a lot of people. So it's the fear of the unknown. It can be overwhelming. But courage gives us the strength to keep moving forward. It gives us the strength to ask the questions. It gives us the strength to say, Lord, guide my way in this situation. There is something you're trying to show me, teach me, help me to learn it, help me to grow. Courage enables us to seek support. And sometimes if we're a loner, we think, well, I'm just going to do it on my own. But no, support is very helpful. Social support, emotional support, physical support. It's very helpful to us. And so when we take that step forward and not be a loner or isolated, but instead find opportunities to connect, find opportunities to learn from the experience in each aspect of the experience that you're going through. And what happens is ultimately, we emerge with a deeper sense of understanding, of attunement to our soul, a greater mastery of certain emotions, such as fear, doubt, and uncertainty, and a greater deepening of our sense of our connection to our Creator. Because God is guiding us regardless of great times or not so great times. God is willing to help and guide us. So those are some of the thoughts that I have as it relates to courage in terms of how we develop it ourselves and our relationships and our work environment and when we're dealt with a challenging type of situation. But there are many reasons why we struggle with being courageous. So I thought it would be helpful to share some of this because it's easy to look at courageous individuals and think they're just brave, something they were born with. But in reality, courage is something that we all have access to. And the challenge is that because of fear, self-doubt, and the societal conditionings we go through our families, communities, TV, and through on-streaming, or many different ways, platforms in which are trying to tell us what we should and shouldn't do, or what we should or shouldn't think, or how we are, or what we need. These types of issues often prevent us from stepping into our power. We cannot step into our strength, our power, where there is fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown. It paralyzes us and keeps us stuck like a straitjacket in inaction. When we are able to let go of the fear, the control, of needing control, and move into seeing this experience that we're going through, whatever it may be, with ourselves or with our family or in our relationships, work, health, or whatever it may be, we start to exercise that courageous muscle. It begins to grow. And it's just like any muscle. It gets stronger the more we use it. But unfortunately, many people hold themselves back, showing fear as the ruler of their lives, which keeps them stuck, makes them not want to move forward, move them into even depression based upon what the issues are going on for them, so they take no action. What we need to do is engage in action. So an example, I was thinking about what courage represents and can represent and not get mixed up into the struggle and moving into paralysis and no activity or no movement, is the lion fighting the Wizard of Oz. Now that story of the Wizard of Oz, you know that story of the lion and the Wizard of Oz? It was a powerful illustration an example of courage that I think is a classic story. The character of the lion was a symbol of inner strength and the journey of the soul towards self-realization. At the beginning of the story, the lion believed he lacked courage. That's what he was looking for. And he asked Dorothy, as Dorothy was traveling with him down the yellow brick road. And even though his action showed he already had some bravery in him, that's the quality of courage, he sought the wizard to help him gain courage. But over time, and this is what we all can learn, that true courage isn't something external. It's an inner quality that has always been with him, with us. It may be dormant, it may be buried, it may need opportunity to show forth the courage in our interactions, our daily interactions, in our relationships, by speaking the truth about things, being honorable, being kind in the midst of other people maybe not being so kind. So the story in The Wizard of Oz with the lion is our own personal journey we can think of on the path of our yellow brick road that we're moving down. And some of the things that we have to overcome, that the lion had to overcome, was doubt in your own strength, fear, that we're not going to be accepted or we're going to be able not to be capable of facing life's challenges when they're confront us, like I mentioned earlier, the cancer that the person had and had to overcome that. But the truth is, just like the lion, courage is already within us. It's simply a matter of realizing it and allowing ourselves to step into it. And when we deny our courage, we hinder our growth, our soul progress, and the opportunity to fulfill our potential, our life mission. We all have hurdles that we have to jump over, so to speak. And with courage, it isn't about a grand gesture or external validation. It's about knowing and trusting yourself, especially when the path that you're moving on seems uncertain. So by not embracing courage, we miss the opportunity to grow and evolve. We're not getting stuck in old patterns and beliefs. Instead, we're breaking our limiting beliefs and growing. It helps when we're being courageous and expressing what's going on in the now. We're not compromising who we are to fit or to avoid a conflict or disagreement. We're not being passive. Instead, we're embracing courage to allow us, as we ask our inner self, what do I need to do here? What do I need to say here? Our soul will give us the truth, the prompting, the intuition of what we need to do, which then aligns our actions with our highest purpose that the soul wishes to do. Because ultimately the soul is on planet Earth to grow through certain experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it is here to grow. And there's two other things I think we miss out on where we're not engaged in being courageous. One relates to forming deeper connections with ourselves, being vulnerable and being okay in that vulnerable space, and being authentic with where we're at, what's going on, how we're feeling, and what we need at the particular time. It deepens our relationships by allowing us to show up as our true selves, not feeling as if we have to put a mask on so people don't know what's going on with us. But we're willing to do that in a respectful way, using your lips to express how you're feeling, what's going on for you. That fosters inner strength. That fosters the strength with other people, bonds that allow other people to know where we're at and how we're feeling and what is our need and wanting to hear what their needs are as well. So ultimately, this last point, what we're missing out on when we're not being courageous is mastering life's challenges. Courage helps us to navigate the difficulties in our life. It gives us the strength to face adversity, learn from it, emerge more resilient, wiser than we were before the experience. As I wind this down and talking about courage, which I think is so powerful, it is the key. It is certainly a key that unlocks the soul's full potential. It's the force that helps anyone to face their fears, embrace change, that we're going to have to go in a different way or manage or be flexible in the situation that you may find yourself in, and for us to take the bold steps toward a life of fulfillment and authenticity, whether in your personal relationships and your professional life or during your life's greatest challenges. Courage, I believe, is stones. It's one of the cornerstones to soul growth. Just like in the lion from the Wizard of Oz, we all possess the courage we seek. It is not something we need to acquire, but something we need to realize within ourselves. Embracing courage allows us to step into true power, true strength, living more life on purpose, with clarity, with truth, with authenticity. Therefore, it creates the life we're meant to lead and live. So the next time you're facing a challenge, remember, your courage is already within you. All you need to do is trust it, take the first step forward, call upon the Lord to guide you, ask your soul how you may need to tackle this situation and handle it, and then be in listening grace. What do you think about that? Bye for now.
Thank you for joining me for this episode on Mastering Life's Adventures, being your best self through soul evolution. If you have enjoyed what you've heard today, I would be delighted if you would share this episode with others, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe to my Mastering Life's Adventures podcast. Look forward to your joining the next episode. Please leave any comments or suggestions you might have below. Bye for now.